Man, just a really good day for our club. It was anytime you play a doubleheader against a team, it's tough to win the second game of a doubleheader, specifically when it's in a series, and then it's the third game of the series, and you're up 2-0, and your guys can get complacent with the fact that they're up 2-0 and they've already won the series, and the other team is hungry to make sure that they don't get swept. So really just proud of our guys, how they went about their business today.
So you guys coming into the final game of the doubleheader seemed like you kind of lost energy a little bit, and then you had a rough inning that gave up 4 runs. What did you tell your team in the dugout when you huddled them together?
Just basically that it wasn't a question of whether or not we were going to win the game. It was when they were going to decide they wanted to win the game. We know with what we've already gone through with this team for 2 games, what we're capable of doing. And like you said, it was just one of those deals where that's the kind of one of the curses of getting up 2-0 is you can kind of take that lull and just remind them good teams don't do that. You know, our team set a goal of wanting to put themselves in a position to be in the postseason, be in a regional, and have a chance to go to Omaha. Well, every game matters. And so as I stress to them, you can't take any games and just, relax in the idea that we got the series win. Every single game matters, and specifically when you're in our league, you stack those wins and you put yourself in a position to be in that conversation within that large.
And then kind of after that, with the 3 runs and the 3 runs in the 8th inning, what did you think of the team's kind of mentality after you gave them that message in the game?
Again, they just got focused, and that was kind of, we struggle between getting the job done and trying to get the job done. And what I constantly am reminding them of, trying doesn't do us any good. You have to have the will, and you need to just get the job done. Don't try to do it, just get it done. And so sometimes when things don't go our way, we want to try harder, we put more pressure on ourselves, and that's kind of what happened to us there. So once we settled in and understood what their plan was and what their pitchers were doing, then we were able to take advantage.
So,
Coach, this is your 8th win in a row on this run you guys have going, but there's obviously more competitive play coming. What's the message in the clubhouse when you're coming into harder teams, especially coming into conference play?
Just the idea of that we have to just continue to get better, and again find that consistency of throwing strikes, playing good defense, having quality bats. The game is difficult, but it's really that simple. And so as we continue to move forward, we point out the things and the mistakes that we make, but what we've been able to do is we've been able to overcome those. And as you said, as we continue to move forward and work our way into tougher competition, some of those teams aren't going to let us back into a game if we give them opportunities. And so we have to be very leery of that and make sure we don't give them opportunities and just play clean and make another team earn everything that they get, as they're going to make us earn everything that we get.
Jamal George had a pretty good day. He had 3 hits, and he played 2 different positions. What do you like from him?
He's athletic. It's a guy that's an older guy. He was in the league last year at Texas A&M. Didn't necessarily get a lot of playing time, but he's familiar with it. But his athleticism and baseball IQ allows him to play anywhere on the field. And so being able to have a guy like that you can put in there, and specifically as a right-handed hitter when we have so many left-handed bats, he becomes very useful for us.
And then Donovan Jordan coming in as a pinch runner, is that something you're going to keep carrying on as the rest of the season?
Well, I mean, he's an option for us, but Pierre Seals was away for a funeral this weekend, so we didn't have him in play. Caden Pierce obviously been hurt. Leo rolled his ankle the other day. Frost was already in the game, so we've had some injuries and some things take place to where our options are limited on who we can use in those situations. But because of how he can run, he is definitely a guy that we will use in a situation like that in the future.
So one thing that I want to ask about is you guys have been recruiting more outside of the 50 states, and you have Juan Villarreal, 3 Puerto Rican players, a guy from Cuba and Panama. What kind of energy and importance does that bring to your team, and why should you recruit in those areas?
Well, I think we're recruiting players that we think can help us win. And then when you talk about some players specifically that come from that Latin background, as you well know, there's a certain energy that those teams play with and how those guys grow up. So they bring that energy to the dugout and to our team, and it's infectious. And so they're good players, plus they have the energy that comes along with it. So they put us in a good situation on both sides of it.
I think he was dancing in the dugout every single time I looked down there. Juan Vieira.
Well, that dude is the happiest dude every day of the year. So I don't think I've ever seen him not smile or be happy. So yeah, it's infectious, and you can't help but join in on that because he's going to force you to do so. And I think it's really kind of rolled over into everybody else.
And then kind of the use of like small ball in the second game, is that kind of something, is that an identity that you kind of want the offense to continue establishing as the season goes on?
I think we have to be able to do it all, right? Because as you go along, you saw on Friday we were able just to swing and have some, big hits and those types of things. And in other games we've been able to, drive gaps and those types of things. But then there's going to be some times where, hey, you got to put the ball down. You got to make them make plays. You got to get runners in scoring position. You have to bunt for hits. You have to sack bunt. And then when you talk about moving into conference, you're going to see better arms where you can't think that you're going to go out against Friday night guys in the SEC and sit back and just slug. You're going to have to be able to do some different things. So that's something that we've been preaching since I've been here, is that we have to be multifaceted as an offense, that if the opportunity presents, that we have guys that are physical and strong enough to bang. If not, and we need to play small ball, and if we need to run, we have guys that can run. So this team gives us a really good combination of all those kind of guys, specifically when we get everybody back and healthy. Minus a Durnan right now, who can run and has some power, and Caden Pierre, who can run and has some power, and Pierre Seals, who can run and has some power. And you're talking about really depth in the lineup that will allow us to figure out ways to score runs and have multiple opportunities to do so.